Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. For those that are new here, my name is David. I was an appraiser trainee. We'll get more to that later. So it's been about 10 months since I last made a video. And in the last video, I kind of shared the challenges of being in the real estate industry. And a lot of you have posted, kind of where I've been. And so I figured it's long overdue that I give you an update of what I've been up to in the last 10 months. So this one is probably gonna be a really long video. I may go on some tangents. It may be really, really long. And sit back, enjoy, turn off the screen, listen to the audio, up to you, whatever it is, or click out if it's not for you. But I'm just gonna kind of share you what I've been up to in the past 10 months. So when I last ended the video, I think I was kind of just not very happy with the struggles in the economy, the income, and whatnot. At that time, I think I had a planned trip, went to Hawaii with my wife, and when we came back, it was just back to work, but work was still slow as usual. The main thing that happened in November, it wasn't really work related, but it was that I had scheduled an online course. It was Advanced Highest and Best Use. It was with the Appraisal Institute, and it was asynchronous, which basically means that you spend 4 hours a day for 2 weeks. That course for Pacific time, because I live in Oregon, it was from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. and it was just an online course. It was the Advanced Highest and Best Use course, and that course it was difficult. It was difficult to say the least. This was my second advanced course. So if you're not familiar with advanced courses, basically after you get your certified general, most appraisers, what they try to do is they try to get their MAI designation, which is kind of like a fancy 3 letters, like you get your MBA, your PhD. If you're in the appraisal industry, you'll see that there are some appraisers that put MAI close to their name. It's just a designation that says that you completed the highest level of education. You proved your capability as a proficient appraiser. So my plan was, as a trainee, I would get my certified general license, and then after I got my license, I would go ahead and take the continuing education courses, and then the hours required, and basically just do the prerequisites for getting my MAI. So long story short, the MAI designation requires 4 advanced courses. That's the advanced income, the advanced highest and best use, quantitative analysis, and then I think it's advanced case studies. So I've already taken advanced income. That was back in January of 2023. So I had planned to take another advanced income kind of later in the year. So November, when I got back from our mini vacation in Hawaii, I took the advanced highest and best use for about 2 weeks. And during that time, overall the course itself wasn't difficult, but I think studying for the exam, it was pretty rough. And the reason why it took so long, for me personally, I just felt like it was really challenging, because if you're not familiar with advanced highest and best use, even I'm trying to remember what I did in those 2 weeks in class. To me, what advanced highest and best use is just basically supply and demand. If this is the current demand, will there be enough supply in the next 5 years or 3 years? And in the course, and as you're studying the supply or demand, you kind of had to figure out kind of the unit of comparison for that one. So let's say you're trying to figure out, most of the time it was like the supply and demand of occupation, like jobs or space. Let's say your total warehouse supply in this region is, let's say, 1 million square footage. And then you are given, or you try to calculate the absorption rate. So let's say you have 1 million square footage of warehouse space. The absorption per year is 200,000. So in how many years will all the warehouse spaces be absorbed? And what if there is anticipated new construction of an additional 1 million square footage in warehouse space? What's the metric here? And so it was a lot harder than advanced income, because with advanced income, it's just basically you're trying to solve for a value. And it's pretty much the same with advanced highest and best use, but you had to make a table of here's this unit comparison, and then this will help me get this, and then this will help me get this figure. And you just do this all the way down. So you're trying to figure out the absorption rate, you're trying to figure out the comparison. And so this is probably way overkill, but for those that are interested in taking the advanced highest and best use course, just take a lot of notes and then do the practice problems, and I know it sucks, but just draw the table out. Because when I took the exam at Pearson VUE, and I literally spent the entire, I think, how many hours did they give you? I think they gave you 2 hours, and I spent almost 2 hours. And that was because I took the time drawing every single table during my exam. So in November, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but when I took the exam, that was in January. But let's get back to the main point. In November, I was studying for the advanced highest and best use. Then in December, that's when there were some changes in my professional career. So in December, I got some news from the state, and the state basically says, hey, we're willing to let you take the exam, which was great. I was waiting for, I submitted my application in November of 2022, and I went through this whole process with the state from November 2022 all the way until December of 2023. Yeah, so last year. So it was a year process. But we can get to what the year process was. But basically what they said was, yeah, we are willing to let you take the exam if you take this corrective action course. And the corrective action course those are just courses basically designed like if you did something wrong, or if you had to get disciplined by the state, or if for whatever reason, like your appraisal got reported, or if, I don't know, if you got in trouble, sometimes with the state, then they would make you take these corrective action courses or corrective electives. It's corrective something. I don't remember what it was. They had me take a course called like missing explanation. And it was with McKissick is what the course was. But it was basically a course that I had to pay out of pocket for. So it's like a $400 course. But I've just been like so into the process with the state that I'm just like, hey, I'll pay $400, take the class, and then just let me take the exam. Let me take the exam so I can go ahead and get my license. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the whole process of trying to get like just the okay to take the exam with the state. I might do that separate video. Actually, no. Let's talk about it, right? I don't know when I'm gonna make another video. I don't know when I have the time. So let's just kind of get into it. So in November 2022, I had filled out my application. I finished all my courses. I got all my hours. I got my work log done, and I submitted to the state. And when I submitted to the state in November 2022, they said, thanks. We're actually pretty slammed right now. So it's gonna be like 2 months is what they said, maybe. They basically told me I was like 12 in queue. So I called like every week, said, hey, is there any progress on my application? And they said, yeah, we're just really slammed. I'm so sorry, but you're moving up. And eventually, I think it was around February is when they had me assigned to someone that would work on my case or my application. And basically, I think it was around February. They're like, hey, we're finally working on your application. Can you go ahead, and we're looking at your work log, and it looks like we want you to send these 2 appraisals. The 2 appraisals were just 2 random appraisals for my work log. And in hindsight, if you're ever going to submit anything to the state, and I know sometimes it's really hard to get all the hours needed for your work log, but if you're in a situation where you have so much hours, like you have like an overkill of hours, and you're able to kind of pick the best reports that you've worked on in your work log, I recommend doing that. In my work log, I just put in all the assignments that I worked on that I felt were decent reports, but it wasn't something that I really thought was going to impact me. As a trainee, a lot of times you're working on reports and you're working them in combination with your supervisor. And I'm not saying my supervisor made a mistake, but basically when you send these reports to the state, sometimes what you do in practice is not always up to par or up to the standard that the state wants it. Not only do I recommend reports that you're super confident in, but I'd also recommend in your work log, put in reports that are not complicated, like non-complex assignments. So if you're doing an assignment that is a proposed construction of a multi-family set 3 years out in the future, and the ground floor is like retail spaces, or the mid-level is a office space, there's so many components in there. You're doing land sales, you're doing improved sales, you're doing the income approach, you're looking at the cost approach, you're doing so many different things. You have to talk about the absorption rate, you have to talk about the cost that's in place, you have to talk about permitting. If you have any of those complicated assignments in your work log, I highly recommend you don't. Just don't. Because what happened was they basically asked me to provide 2 appraisals from the work log. One of them was mid-rise apartment complex with ground floor retail. The other assignment was an old garden apartment, but we had to provide multiple values, which was an as-is value, and then as complete and as stabilized, which basically means, we're telling the client, hey, this is the value of the property as of today, but here's the property after you finish the renovation, and then here's the value after you finish the renovation and it's fully stabilized. So there's a lot of different values and there's a lot of moving pieces. And I sent that to the state. They took some time as well. They didn't get back to me until like June. And then in June, they're like, hey, we have some issues with these appraisals and we're not going to approve you. So either you can, fight our decision, or you can send us a new work log and we'll pick, different appraisals to review. I won't go into the details of what they wanted in in those appraisal reports, like what was the issue. Now they were very minor. I can see their standpoint of what they were not okay with. But at the same time, it just felt like they were just, it was just frustrating, right? Because it wasn't a report that, one, that I fully did. Two, a lot of the comments were just something that was just way above my head. I'm still new in this industry, and so the report that they picked, I thought that they were good, but they weren't. Apparently, according to the state, they were just like, oh, you're stating this, but you don't have sufficient proof, or you're making this comment, but I don't see any reference to where you got this source, or you're making this assumption about the market, but I don't see anything to prove that. And so it's stuff like that. So after they told me to submit a new work log, I had a call with the state and I said, hey, it's super slow right now. I don't know if you realize, but after the Fed raised the rates, there's not a lot of work. And so for you to tell me to generate a brand new work log of assignments that I feel that are up to par, that are not complicated, that are kind of straightforward, that will kind of pass the benchmark, that I can work on 100%, it's just not there right now. And so we came to a negotiation. Basically, I was able to do appraisals. I was able to pick like three properties in my area, that I could do an appraisal on. Like basically what I did was I just went on CoStar, which is like a database of just properties that are for sale, for rent, and things like that. It's just this basic, like a huge database for real estate properties. Subscription's expensive too, so if you're in the real estate industry or in any appraisal industry, you're probably familiar with CoStar. But basically with CoStar, I basically just looked at the three properties in CoStar that were pending sale or sold, or anything that had like a marketing flyer or like a broker's offering memorandum, so that I could have the income to the property. I can see the listing price, or if it's sold, I can say, hey, it closed this price. Basically, I just picked like basic properties, like anything between like 13 units, like 20 units, like something small, but just your regular garden apartments. So I picked three, and then I wrote three appraisals on those. And then once I finished those three appraisals, then I would send it back to the state, and then they picked one. They picked one appraisal report, and then they reviewed it. I think it was in the fall. I don't remember specific months, but they reviewed it in the fall, and they came back saying, hey, we still have issues with this appraisal report. And so I fixed it. And then I did everything that they wanted. And then before I even submitted it, I called the reviewer and said, hey, just want to make sure we're on the same page. I'm looking at your comments here. If I had approached it this way, or if I did this in the report, can you kind of guide me in the right direction? And she was great. She helped me just kind of navigate like the appraisal process, and just helped me tell me what she wanted to see and what she doesn't want to see on these appraisal reports. I finished the edit. I sent it back, and I think it was done around like October or September, something around like late fall, early winter. Once I heard back in December, and they said, hey, your reviewer said you did a great job. She's seen the improvements. She saw that you worked hard on it. Basically, she suggested that you take this corrective action course, and if you take it, it's called Missing Explanations. If you take that course and you show us that you took the course, then we'll go ahead and let you take the exam. So that was basically what had happened during my application process, and kind of just why it took so long. So I took the course, I finished it, I sent it to the state, and then when I sent it to the state, they're like, great, you're now approved to take the exam. So finally, after over a year, I was able to take the exam, but I didn't take the exam right away. Before we talk about 2024, let's talk about 2023. In my last video in 2023, I had estimated that I would make about like 60,000. I didn't. I made like 52,000. I didn't make a lot. Like the base salary in my position is like 50,000. And then if you're doing great in a certain month, or you produce more, or your billings are great that month, more than what you're supposed to make, then any extra amount goes towards your commission/bonus. So like that's why in prior years, like in 2022, I made like 100,000 roughly. I think it's hard to say 100K, because I think on my W2 it was like 90 something thousand, but then because you take into RSUs, it was like 100 and something, like 104. So it's somewhere between there. In 2023, I did not make 60,000 like I thought. I made like 52,000. So I mean, that was a bummer. Well, what did I expect? It was a slow year. So fast forward in 2024, January. So like I had mentioned, in November I took a course, and that was the course for the advanced highest and best use. Although I wanted to go ahead and take the exam right away, I felt that I should, because I already took this course and it's still fresh in my memory, I should study for it and take that first and get that out of the way. So the entire January I studied for the advanced highest and best use course. I studied, and it took me about like 2 to 3 weeks to study for it. And then late January, I took the exam for the highest and best use, and then I passed it first try. So yay, that was done. So then I had scheduled the exam for the state exam to get my certified general license. I had scheduled that in March 7th. So I had just a month, just February. I had only February to study and take the exam for my license. So the entire February, I just did nothing but study. I worked, yes, during the day, but then after work, I would say, hey, I'm gonna study. And so don't bother me, but if you do, just know that I'm studying. I still got bothered anyways. If an assignment had to be due, I had to do it anyways. So there's no escaping that. So in February I studied, and it was a lot. It was a lot of studying. I basically studied the Appraisal Institute multiple choice. I studied the focused learning test bank, and then I had studied the McKissick test bank as well. And I think I put in like 100 hours total studying. But the big thing I do want to, shout out during the time that I studied is that I think it was about 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior to when I was about to take the exam. So I posted in the Discord community and I said, hey, I'm about to take this exam. Does anyone have any tips? This is what I'm using to study. Does anyone have any suggestions? Or I'm studying, I kind of need help. It's basically the contents of that post. I'll be completely honest. I think studying for the state exam was tough because you're just there by yourself studying during the afternoon, on the weekends, by yourself for the majority of it. And you're just looking outside and it's like a Saturday night. People are, they're going out or they're having fun, or you look at people that are in different professions that don't have to do this type of studying, or they are making more than you are. And it just, sometimes when you study, especially, I don't know if it was just me or if this profession, or it's just because of how this current industry is and how slow it's been and how hard it's been. It's just all that time studying it's like you have a lot of time to think to yourself, like, is this even worth it? Is all this studying worth it? Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right career for me? Is this gonna pay out? Like, when is the light at the end of the tunnel? And I think I had a lot of time just to think, and it was just really hard studying, wondering, is this the right career for me? Did I make a mistake? I got in the career in 2019, and it's just do my classes, get my hours. You see people on like the Reddit pages or the forums, they talk about, I can't find a supervisor, or I want to get into the industry, but it's so slow, no one's taking me on. How do you find a supervisor? It's just, I didn't know what to think. Like, should I be grateful that I'm in a position where I am already here, where I've finished all my courses, all my hours, and finally I have the ability to take the exam, and so I just need to study for it? I don't know what was going on through my mind at the time, but it was difficult to study nonetheless, with all these thoughts just kind of in the back of my head. So when I made that post, someone in the community reached out and they said, hey, I'm also about to take the exam, so let's study together. And so we studied together, and I think that helped a lot. So I think with any profession, is just to have someone to study with is like a night and day difference, because this profession is such a small niche in real estate. Like, you have your big real estate brokers, and then you have people that work in underwriting or banking, or as for appraisal work, I just felt like it's just a small niche. And so finding someone to study with you and kind of talking about these concepts, it was nice to have someone to study with. So the other trainee that I connected with, we studied together, and we would go over problems together. I would basically take screenshots of saying, hey, this is what I did. This is how I solved it. Is this how you solved it? Or I would say, hey, I don't get this problem. Can you help me out? Or vice versa. He'll send me a problem like, I don't understand what this is asking. How did you solve this? And I would post all this on the Discord community, and I would try to take screenshots and try to solve it. And I had an iPad, and I was taking screenshots and writing all my notes and sharing with everyone in the community. So it was a great time. There were times when we would study, we would like be on the same call together. So I connected my iPad to TeamViewer, and then with the TeamViewer, I streamed it onto Discord, and then I would stream my tablet and my notes. I was just like, hey, okay, let's go through each problem one by one. And so we would go through each problem. I would take the notes down, and we would just solve it together. It was nice to have someone to kind of share the frustration of studying for these concepts, because if you're familiar with studying for the appraisal state exam, or just the appraisal industry in general, a lot of times whatever you're studying for, you're not using it on a day-to-day basis. Like you may be studying regression models, or you may be studying specific terminologies. You may be studying, I don't know, just like a certain way to value a property, or you might be playing like these algebraic formulas like solve for this value, or solve for the cap rate, or solve for all this, or solve for the equity. In the industry that you work for, if you're working for an appraisal firm, most of the time everything is kind of built into the Excel model. So you just need to plug in your comp information, your rent roll, your income. It's basically plug and it spits out the value, it's great to understand how it kind of works. But even then, I'm not saying the Excel takes care of everything, but the Excel takes care of things that you will use. A lot of things that you're studying for, you don't use. That goes without saying for a lot of different industries, that you're studying for like the basic concepts, the fundamentals. But it just feels like such a big time waste, because you're in an industry, you're working in a sector of finance, and you're trying to make money, and instead you're studying all these fundamental concepts. You're working as a trainee, the market sucks, and you're not making a lot of money. You've invested, like myself, 5 years in the industry, and you're just trying to make money. You're just trying to show that I don't know how to say it, like you're just trying to make it in an industry. That's just kind of my thought process while I was studying. Anyways, so I studied for the exam all of February and most of the way until the day I took the exam, which was on March 7th. And I spent like 100 hours is what I tracked, just kind of between those 2 months. And I think the exam, I scheduled at 12 p.m. and then I had 6 hours to take the exam. Now, I took it at Pearson VUE, which is, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, it's like a testing center. And so you'll go in, you show your ID, your passport, basically, you'll say like, yeah, I am who I am. I'm taking this test. No one else is taking this test for me. I'm not going to cheat. And then they'll do like a body search, like not like a full on airport body search, but they'll say like, roll up your sleeves, pull the inside out of your pockets, clear your calculator, take off your glasses, and then, show me, make sure that, there's no notes attached to your glasses. You go to the second room, which, it's all the computers, and then there's someone behind you, kind of like in this glass box, just making sure they're not cheating, and there's cameras everywhere. So I've already talked about testing center, but what was different about this state exam is that in all the other exams that I've taken, they give you like this whiteboard that you can take notes on, and then there's like a spiral on top so you can flip it. So you'll have like this stack of just whiteboard that's attached to the spiral thing, and then it's like 11 pages, I think. And so like if you take notes and then you run out of space, you flip it to the next page, and you take notes and you run out of space, you flip it to the next page. You get what I'm saying? But with the state exam, they would only give you like this single sheet that you can take notes on, and the other side had like instructions, like writing on it already, like the don't cheat rules and stuff like that. And so really only had like 1 page. And they said that you can only take notes of that single page, and if you run out, you have to wave your hand and then give them the sheet, and they give you a brand new one. So I thought it was just, okay, I see where this is going. Like, you don't want me to memorize or refer back to my problems to solve, like when you look at a problem and you don't get it and you skip to the next one, and then you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And then you use that kind of understanding of that problem, you go back and you solve the other problem. Like, I think they tried to prevent that. So that's one aspect of that state exam. And then they split into 2, so it's 6 hours. And I think it's 120 problems, but I think like 10 of those problems are just like filler problems, but you don't know which problems those are. Like, what I basically understood is that the 10 questions out of the 120, they're basically like a poll to figure out the competency of people take the exam, and they have no negative impact on your score if you fail or you pass. And then you have 110 left, and you only need 70% to pass. So I think they split it. I think like you had 60 questions in the first half and then 60 questions in the second half. So you had 3 hours to do 60 questions and another 3 hours to do another 60 questions. I think that's the numbers. It's been a while, so forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. All I'll say is that when I had done the exam, I was so grateful that I did the focused learning questions, because a lot of the questions on the focused learning was nearly identical to the state exam. The Appraisal Institute was great because they had a lot of explanations on how to solve things, and focused learning, you gotta kind of figure out what the answers is because there's no answers for the focused learning. But if you know how to solve the focused learning question, you're in really good shape when you take the state exam. So I was so grateful that I spent so much time with this other trainee to go over focused learning question. The other thing I would also recommend on the state exam is skip as much as you can. I think in the first hour, I would just only do the easy questions. Anything that I felt would take a lot of notes or require me to be trying to solve it for 5 or 10 minutes, I would skip. It was just, all right, this one's easy, do it. This one, I got to draw something out, skip. So I spent, like, that's my strategy, was just to skip as much as I could. Not saying I want to skip everything, but I just want to, I feel like it was like a psychological game. There was a McKissick course with this instructor, and she said, skip the first 10 problems or skip the first 15 problems. Those problems are designed to make you feel that you're not prepared, like, oh, this is super hard. Am I going to pass? They make you, have doubts. And so I took that advice, and so I just tried to skip through problems I felt like would just crush me and just make me start, second guessing, like, do I know how to solve this? Am I going to pass? And so I would skip all that. And so the goal was to just do a lot of questions that I could do, just to kind of build that self-confidence that, okay, I can do this. So the first section was about 3 hours. I finished that in about like 2 hours. And I took my 30-minute break. And then the second section was another 3 hours, and I finished that in 2 hours as well. They don't tell you the results right away. Like, I think at the very end, I was just very hesitant. Like, do I submit this? Like, do I have any doubts that I put in the right answer? But, I thought to myself, like, let's just do this and just submit it. So I end the results, said, yes, I agree that if I press this button, I can't go back, and I submit my results. And I thought I would get my answer right away. But no, the pop-up screen, like the next several screen was like, okay, we would like for you to participate in this poll. Can you please tell us how you studied for this? Where are you in your career? Blah, blah, blah. It was just like a demographic poll, and I didn't want any part of that. I just wanted to know my results. So I thought I was going to see my results there, and then I finished the poll and I pressed submit, and no, I still don't have my results. And then they walked me out of the room, and then finally they printed the paper and they gave it to me, and then I got my results. And on that paper, it had my name, it had my picture, it had the date, it had the exam I was taking, and I was looking for a score. There was no score, but it had like this status thing. Like it showed here, like, here is the results. And the result was I passed. So yeah, I passed. So I was super stoked. I was excited. And the guy who gave me the paper was like, hey, I can tell you must have passed because you look like you're really happy. And I was like, yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, I passed the exam, and I was just super stoked. I was happy. Got to the car, called my wife, told her good news, and posted in the community, in the Discord community. I said, hey, I passed. And then I told my study buddy, I was like, hey, dude, I passed. And guess what? You did too. So we both passed. That's good. It would be really crappy if one of us passed and one of us didn't. So we both passed, both got our certified general license. So once I passed and I got everything all taken care of, so I reached out to the state and I said, hey, I passed. Here's all the documentation. And then they said, congrats. And within a couple of days, they gave me my license. Like, it was a digital copy, and they said they would mail it too. But it was a digital PDF that I got my license in Oregon. So the reason why I started the video saying I was a trainee in the appraisal industry, I was. Now, I am not an appraiser trainee. I am now officially a certified general appraiser in the state of Oregon. Because I got my license in Oregon, I could also go to Washington and said, hey, I have my Oregon license, and I can get another license in Washington as long as I pay the dues and the fees. So I can officially say I am a certified general appraiser in the state of Oregon and Washington. Yay! Yeah, took 5 years to get to that point. 5 years. I did forget to mention one thing. In December, before I got any news back from the state, I also tried to get another license. And in the state of Oregon, if you're working for like any government position or county position or like any government municipality related positions, you need to be a registered property appraiser. So it's like a different license, but that's strictly only given by the Department of Revenue. So the one that I just took the exam for, the big exam, that was through the state of Oregon, and it's through the ACLB, which is the Appraisal Certificate and Licensure Board, something like that, ACLB. This one in December, this is a different license provided by the state of Oregon Department of Revenue. Their exam fee was free. Like, you would go on their website and said, hey, I want to take the exam and here's my credentials. So I took the exam. That was like a 2-hour exam, and I did it at home. I didn't have to go to any testing center. I just had to turn my webcam. And I did it with I think it was like 5 other people in the Zoom call. It was like 100 questions. Once I got to like question 70, they said, the screen just stopped. It's like, hey, you passed. No need to continue. And so I was like, yay. So I passed that too. So I have 3 licenses, I guess. 2 really, but like, I'm a certified general appraiser in the state of Oregon and Washington, and then I also have my registered property appraiser license in the state of Oregon. So I can work as a independent fee appraiser, or I can work in the state or like a government position. So I mean, the reason why I did that smaller exam with the state for the Department of Revenue to get my registered property appraiser license, I just want to make some progress in my career, because I felt like I was just not making any progress. I didn't have my license. I want to get some sort of license, and I kind of want to just kind of break the ice and do some sort of exam, just kind of, practice any appraisal related problems. So that's pretty much what had happened in terms of my career up until March. After I got my license, I sent it to my workplace and I said, hey, I now have my license. They promoted me going from a senior valuation associate, and then I became a senior appraiser. I won't talk about the compensation. If there was any changes, I think I'm going to save that for a different video in terms of the compensation changes after getting my license. It's just not something I want to talk about in this video. And I'll explain why in a different time. But after I got my license, a different big change happened, which caused me to not post videos. So kind of thus far, I was busy in November studying, taking a class for advanced highest and best use. Then in December, I was working with the state to finish the audit process. Definitely the holidays were at that time too. And then I was also getting my registered property appraiser license. Then in January, I took the exam for the advanced highest and best use. In February, I studied to get my state license. And then in March, I took the license test and then I passed. Then in April, something else happened. On April 22nd, I became a dad. So we welcome our son, our first son, into the world, my beautiful baby boy, and I became a dad. So when I became a dad, I took some time off. So I took about 12 weeks off, spent some time with the mom, my kid, and just kind of soak in everything about being a dad. I will say, being a first-time parent is, to me, I felt was way more challenging than studying for the state exam. Because with the state exam, you can sleep, right? You study and then you sleep and you study the next day. But with a kid, forget about sleep. I had no idea how much lack of sleep you get as a first-time parent. Like, I underestimated it. Anyways, there was a lot of things happening. Yeah, in February and March, as I was studying for the exam, we were also trying to frantically prepare for our baby boy, just the baby room, getting all the diapers ready and the furniture, and it was a lot. Yeah, so in April I became a dad and I took some time off and I officially just came back to work on July 15th. So I've been back for a week with work. I can't tell you if work is better or if like the market's doing great. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out, how are sales happening in the market? What are people underwriting cap rates at? How's the income doing on certain projects? How are we doing on prior projects that we previously appraised on that are like new construction, that are like mid-built? Things like that. So I can't tell you how the market's doing right now. Yeah, I've been back. We're working for about a week. I've gone on an inspection, did an inspection for like a proposed gas station, an inspection for like a under renovation multifamily complex, and then I just did another inspection for it's like over 150 units apartment complex. There were the buyers, the sellers. We had PCA guys there and the environmental guys. And then we had the property managers there for the buyers and the sellers. And so it was like a 2-hour inspection. Had to take pictures of 15 units. Appraisals goes fast. If you're on the appraisal side during one of these big inspections, you're there just taking pictures of the property, looking at the amenities, just looking at the quality of the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, but you're not doing any like hardcore measurements. The measurements for these type of appraisals, generally a site survey, and the buyer and seller will do way more due diligence in terms of like the physical condition of the property. Your job in terms of appraisal is to look at the income and then look at the market and then look at any recent sales, and you're trying to figure out how much is this property valued at. And sometimes, depending on who the client is, you might have to determine the value of the property as is or in the future after certain renovations or after renovations and when it's stabilized. And so yeah, I've been back for about a week. Gone on inspections, built some comps, done some, subject files, and yeah, I'm just it's been crazy. I would see posts of people commenting, like I would get YouTube comments and people would ask like, hey David, are you still in this industry? Did you find a new job? And I didn't want to reply to those comments because I didn't want to say like, yeah, I'm still in the industry, I'm just taking time off. I kind of want to just save everything for this video, just kind of share everything. But I'm sorry to everyone that, I'm usually really good at replying to the comments, but I didn't want to like spoil anything. I'm still in the appraisal industry. I haven't quit. I am no longer a trainee because I am now certified general appraiser. Just to recap, basically for the past 10 months, I was doing some classes for trying to get my MAI, and I've been taking exams, got the state exam done, got my license, and then I took, some time off to spend some time with my family. So that's why I've been offline for so long, and why I haven't really posted any videos or contents. I've just been busy. So sorry. I don't know when the next time I'm going to post is. Yeah, if you're interested in this career, the real estate appraisal industry, it is tough. I'm not going to make any comments about if I recommend this industry or not. I'm just going to share my experience with you. Someone that has gone through the process of being a trainee and then getting their license and then working in the commercial industry. So I'm just sharing my experience. But I do want to say thank you to the community. First of all, to get comments about people being interested in this industry made me feel a little bit better, thinking that, okay, maybe this career isn't a dead-end job. Not saying it is a dead-end job, but there are times, you know what I mean? There are times when you kind of look at your life and you think, did I go to college just to make $50,000 a year? And just to see people kind of ask like, hey, you know, how are you doing? And how's this career? And just to see that, you know, the platform that we've created as a community and, you know, the Discord community, and just to see that there are other appraisers like myself, young, new in this industry for like the last 5 years. And there are people that are in this industry for a lot longer, but it just helps to feel connected. A lot of times in this industry, you're in your own little bubble. It's great that you can work from home. It's great that you can drive to certain places and do inspections, and, you know, you can work remotely and in a team, and you don't have to do sales. Right? But a lot of times this industry, you're in your own little bubble. And so being able to kind of connect with the community, being able to connect with people that are interested in this occupation, people that are in this industry, or people that are trying to get in, or people that are struggling in different various aspects that this industry makes you go through, it made me feel less like I was the only one, which might seem stupid to kind of think that, oh, I'm the only one dealing with all this. But you have to understand that I was the only trainee in my office, my region, that was actively trying to get their license. And I was the only one out of my entire friend group that is in this real estate appraisal industry. So I didn't really have any connections. I want to thank you to people that take the time to comment and take the time to kind of share your experience with me. And I appreciate everyone in the Discord community. Yeah, just thanks. Yeah, I don't know what to say, but thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to you for watching. I don't know if you're interested in this industry, or if you've been a viewer just kind of wondering where I've been, or you just somehow just stumbled upon this video about real estate appraisal. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. So now that secret's out and you know that I'm a licensed appraiser, you know what I've been up to the past year, you know, leave a comment, tell me how you've been, tell me what you're up to. Just leave a comment. But until next time, take care, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.